Welcome to Burlington's Candidate Forum. My name is Alan Foulds, and I'll be moderating the discussion. I'm joined by a press panel to ask the questions. Please welcome Nikki Cadillac of Burlington Buzz and Chris Flaherty of BNEWS here at BCAT. At this session, we'll be concentrating on the school committee. We have 4 candidates for 2 3-year positions. The incumbents are Catherine Bond and Jeremy Brooks, and the challengers are Hillary Kleck and Aaron Reeves. Welcome, everyone. Before we begin, I'm going to go over the ground rules. It's broken into 4 pieces. Here's how we will proceed. Each of the candidates will offer a 1-minute opening statement, and we've drawn lots for the order. After that, our press panel will begin to ask questions of each of the candidates. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond. We'll rotate between members of the press as well as the candidates, so you're not always following the same person or not always starting or stopping. If a questioner has a follow-up, we'll allow that as well. Third part, each candidate will be allowed to ask 1 question of all of the other candidates, again with 90 seconds to respond. And remember, those questions are directed at all 3 of the other candidates. And then finally, each candidate will give a closing 2-minute statement. If everyone's ready, we will get started. And by lot, let's see, we begin with Catherine Bond. You have 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you to BCAT and our moderator, Alan, and Nikki and Chris. It's hard to believe that I'm finishing up my 2nd term on the school committee. Serving this community has truly been an honor. And I am proud of the progress that we've made together. As a current school committee member, I will continue to work with the town government and administration to move projects forward. I've lived in Burlington for 30 years, and as a parent of a Burlington public school graduate, along with my community involvement, I understand firsthand with all this what schools mean to families. Professionally, I'm a senior manager of engineering and manufacturing engineering. Again, it's a new title, so I keep stumbling over it, in the defense industry, where accountability, problem solving, and results are essential, and I will continue to follow that and approach in this new role, or in this role. This past term, we've made meaningful progress, from hiring Dr. Lisa Chen as the assistant superintendent to enhancing school safety, advancing the Fox Hill project, strengthening reading and math, and improving transportation and accountability. I'm also proud to serve as the liaison for CPAC. Over the past 6 years, I've built strong relationships with our families, students, and teachers and gained valuable leadership experience chairing and vice chairing multiple committees. I'm ready to use that experience to continue safety, economics, and social emotional support for every student.
Thank you. Next is Jeremy Brooks.
Hi, thank you, BCAT. Thank you, Mr. Foulds, Nikki, Chris, all the viewers out there. Good evening. I'm Jeremy Brooks, father of 2 daughters in Burlington Public Schools, Air Force veteran, and your school committee member for the last 3 years. In 2023, I ran on 3 pillars: fiscal responsibility, stronger policy, and practical experience, and I delivered. We ratified the first 20-year capital plan, giving the town a real roadmap to school infrastructure costs. I led the creation of the school-wide Safety Council liaison that closed critical communication gaps for emergency response. We enacted the district's first social media policy and completed a full policy overhaul so families can actually point to a document and understand how things work and why. But there's more work to do. Burlington High School still needs a solution our community can support. Our students need more computer science and AI pathways to match the economy right outside our door. And parents need a committee that listens, responds quickly, earns the trust of them every single day. I'm asking for your vote because I've shown I can move ideas into action and not just talk about problems, but solve them. I'd be honored to continue this work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Aaron Reeves.
Good evening, and thank you to the moderator, BCAT, my fellow candidates, and everyone watching at home. Burlington is a wonderful community, and my family and I are grateful to live here and call it home. My wife and I have lived in Burlington since 2020 with our 6 kids, and we truly love being a part of this community. I'm originally from North Dakota, and I moved to Boston in 2008 to study religion and performing arts. By trade, I'm a musician and a carpenter. I run my own business in the entertainment technology industry, and I serve as a music director at a local church. For nearly 2 decades, I've worked in leadership roles, managing teams, budgets, and large projects. That experience has taught me how to bring people together, evaluate ideas carefully, and make thoughtful decisions that lead to real results. Much of my work has also focused on mentoring young people and helping them develop their talents and pursue their goals. My interest in running for school committee grew as I began to talk with parents in the community who shared concerns about communication and clarity around certain decisions in the district. Those conversations reminded me how important it is for families to feel heard and well informed. And I believe that's an area where I can strengthen trust moving forward. Families want thoughtful leadership that listen carefully, evaluate options responsibly, and keep the focus where it belongs: strong academics and responsible use of taxpayer dollars. My priorities are clear: accountability in decision making, transparency with parents, and strong academics at the center of everything we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Hillary Kleck.
Hi, I'm Hillary Kleck, and I'm running for school committee because over the past 12 years raising my family in Burlington, I've seen how strong our schools are. I believe we can do even better for our students and our families, our educators, and our community. I'm a parent of 2 children with very different experiences. My son is a 4th grader here in Burlington, and my 21-year-old daughter attends Perkins School for the Blind. Being their mom has shaped how I think about education, support, and making sure every child has what they need to succeed. I believe that every student deserves to be supported in a way that meets them where they are and helps them grow. Strong schools are built on trust, communication, and real partnership between families and educators. Professionally, I have a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from the University of Arkansas, and I currently work as a data consultant for small to mid-sized manufacturing companies. My work focuses on using data to solve real problems and support better decision making. I will bring that same approach to this role, making thoughtful, informed decisions while also making sure we're truly listening and communicating effectively with parents, educators, and students. I volunteer with the Fox Hill PTO, we just had book fair, and serve on the Perkins CPAC leadership board. Just as importantly, we need to be thinking long-term, planning responsibly, using our resources wisely, and making decisions that are fiscally sound so we can continue to support strong schools not just today, but for future generations. Burlington already has so much to be proud of, like striving for the best curriculum, and I believe that we can be even better. We should be striving for excellence in every classroom, for every student, supporting our educators and making decisions that reflect both the needs of today and the future we want to build. We can be better, and with your support, I'm ready to help us get there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we will move on to the questions from the press. We begin with a question from Nikki Cadillac of Burlington Buzz.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for being here with us tonight. I'm going to get this one out of the way. 3 of you have students and children who are in or have gone through Burlington Public Schools. 1 of you does not. Could you just explain a little bit how your personal experience or lack of personal experience with the school district has shaped how you will advocate for all families in Burlington?
And we'll begin with Mr. Brooks.
Okay. So as I stated in my opening, I have 2 daughters in the system right now. My accountability is when I go home to the dinner table every day. Every decision I make, every curriculum I review, every policy we talk about in the committee is something that affects my family directly. So using that along with the constituent voice and those that reach out to me are all the things that I'll use to formulate my opinions on how I vote for the school committee and how I view things. Thank you.
All right, next, Ms. Bond, same question?
Yes. I've served on the school committee for almost 6 years, and I always like to say I'm crisis tested. I survived COVID my first year, so I really wanted to run a second term to be able to maybe have a more normal, be in a more normal situation and maybe move the schools forward in a different way that I was doing as working through COVID. During COVID, it was a lot of, are we going to be in school, not be in school? And we didn't really get to work on the curriculum as much as I think we would have liked to. So what makes me a good candidate is I have a daughter who has gone through all levels of school, elementary, the middle school, the high school. My daughter went through a renovation, so I've been through a renovation project when she was in school. So I do have a perspective as far as that's concerned. I also have been able to, chair and vice chair many committees. So that's a different, unique experience that I have over some of the other candidates. And I truly believe that, we've learned a lot I've learned a lot over the past 6 years in terms of what we need and what we don't need. I'm very happy that we've been able to improve the curriculum as far as reading and the math program, and I think we need to work on the science program, in particular in the elementary school. And I'd like to really try and move that forward, working very closely with the administration and with the town. And I think it's very important to know that not any one school committee member can push anything through. We have to work together with the community, the town administrators, and the administration for the school.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Kleck, the same question.
Yes. So as I said, my son is here in the Burlington schools and at Fox Hill Elementary. I have a 21-year-old daughter who attends Perkins School for the Blind. She's blind with multiple disabilities, so I've been in the special education space for 21 years or more. She was born blind, so I know what it's like. I can relate, I think, with a lot of families who may be in special education or on a 504 plan. I've been in the IEP meetings. I know what it's like to not have the communication that you need. I've in both places, with special education and in the public school classrooms. So there's a lot of experience there in just both dealing with the district in an outside placement. There's been multiple ways that I've loved to get involved in at the Fox Hill School. So bringing all of that together, I think my goal would be to help bring a stronger voice, a louder voice, whatever it needs to be, for families and students that may be lower, at a lower level than where they think they need to be. We have some subsets in scores and graduation rates, et cetera, that I think could be stronger for these groups.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of the odd one out here with that question. And yes, this has been a topic of interest for many people that I've spoken to up to this point. And the simple answer to this question is I care. I care about the future of our schools and the next generation. Like I mentioned in my opening statement, I've spent almost 20 years of my life, pretty much my entire adult life, volunteering in a nonprofit organization full-time, developing young people. It has been the greatest kind of pursuit of what I've done as an adult. And when that part of my life and career changed, we became a little bit more focused here in Burlington and have been able to engage more with the town. And as my family and I started to look at ways to get involved, the opportunity presented itself to run for school committee and bring real change to some, a few areas of interest and issues that we've heard parents bring up across town. And I thought, man, I care about this. I care about the next generation. I want to jump in and see if I can bring a positive change and help our education system and the future of our students here. And that is why I'm running and why I care about this next generation.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to question 2. This one comes from Chris Flaherty of BNEWS.
Thank you, Alan. Candidates, how familiar are you with Burlington's curriculum, and where do you think we excel, and what areas do you think we need improvement?
In this time, we'll start with Catherine.
I'm just taking my notes here. Right. So as I mentioned earlier, I think I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish over the past few years. The first 3 years I was in this position, we really didn't get to focus much on the curriculum. And I really wanted to make sure that, by running a second term, that we focused on that. And we needed to hire a new assistant superintendent, and I think we made a good choice with Dr. Lisa Chen. Some of the things that we had talked about was that, the reading program hadn't been updated, and I think it was 18 years or something. It was a ridiculously long amount of time. So one of the first things she did was started looking into that and presented the different programs to the school committee. There were a lot of evaluations that took place with the inclusion of our school teachers and staff looking at all the programs. They visited other schools to see what was working. As far as those programs, we decided that the CKLA one was the best one in terms of transitioning into the school. The teachers now have all gone through a training program, and we've rolled it out this year, and I think it's really important for us to really get some feedback from the parents and students after we get this the year completed. The math program, we had some parents who came in and were talking about the math program, and I felt very strongly that and agreed that we needed to look into that. And again, I reached out to Dr. Chen, asked questions in the school committee meetings, and she started looking into it, and we came up with our new program where we've got it all mapped out. And I think the most important change that we made is the Algebra 1 is now, full Algebra 1 is being offered in 8th grade. It also gives flexibility to the students.
Okay. Oh, you all done?
No.
No, I just think
I thought my time was up.
it is, but I thought
Okay,
you
yes,
could
but
finish
anyway, so it
yeah.
gives a lot of flexibility for
Yeah.
the students to move around and get a unique program. And where we need improvement is what I mentioned earlier, is that I would like to see more science in the elementary school so that they are better prepared going into middle school.
Thank you. Just to let you know, I'm trying not to cut you off in mid-sentence, but I'm trying to keep it roughly to the 90 seconds.
Yes.
All right, next up is Aaron.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of research and listening to a lot of parents in our community about our curriculum. And I want to first acknowledge the work that has gone into the curriculum advancements in the last several years, because that does deserve respect. As I've spoken to parents in the community, one of the concerns that they have is that our curriculum stays age appropriate and maintains just a level of clarity and appropriateness to the students that are in the classroom. And that is something that I'm committed to make sure happens as a school committee member, asking hard questions about the curriculum, making sure that things don't come in that don't maybe align with certain values that parents are teaching at home, and that the main purpose of our curriculums focuses on improving academics. If you look at our MCAS scores over the last several years, that is available on DESE or DESE. Is that how you say it? I'm new to this whole acronym thing, but you can see that we are spending in Burlington around $25,000 per student, which is in the top 7% of spending per student in the state. Yet our academic scores are just kind of average. They're just barely meeting expectations. And so this is something that I would focus on, looking at where we can, where the drop-off is, where we can improve and make sure we're really focusing on on strong academics across the board. That's what I would focus on with our curriculum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is Jeremy.
Thank you. So areas we are going to excel now, I believe, I'll echo some of the things Catherine said. The implementation of CKLA was a strong move in the right direction. It updated the reading curriculum, helped our students give another pathway to get to reading success. I would also agree with Catherine, there needs to be more science foundation and more science curriculum at a younger age, because again, as I said in my opening, I believe the innovation and technology in our area is important, right? And it becomes the universal language. Again, I've said it many times, being able to code and work with computers in the digital age. Again, with the middle school curriculum realignment for math, I think, as I stated a few times publicly and on social media, it gives the students many different ways to onboard, off-ramp, scale up, and move through the math curriculum as they gain mastery. I think it was a great addition and something I'm glad the committee supported, having algebra be part of the 8th grade curriculum now for those above level learners, but again, not forgetting about those learners who may not be necessarily above level, but or at grade level. So we really made a concerted attempt to ensure all learners are kind of represented in the curriculum, and I think we really did that. I'm really excited about the Marshall Simons and middle school reading curriculum that's kicked off. There's 2 curriculums before us, EL and the Comp 360. Both of those curriculums are liked by the teachers. There seems to be a favorite, but we'll hear about that at the next school committee meeting. I think
To wrap it up.
Yep, getting parent feedback on that would be helpful, and then again, moving more innovation and science pathways into the high school as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, the same question, Hillary.
Yeah, so I will stand to echo. I think we're headed in the right direction. I'm proud of what the school committee has done in advancing, and with Dr. Chen and leadership in advancing the CKLA curriculum. And looking forward to the math curriculum updates that are coming soon. I do agree that I think we need we need sooner than later in science and technology. Technology is moving faster than we can. So in order to prepare our students to gain access and the opportunities through school and especially after, I think that needs to come up very quickly. I think with the curriculum, we're getting all sorts of data right now. We have data from the past. I think we need to use it more. We need to look at it and analyze it and make our decisions more data informed in what we're doing across the board. Like I say every day, data is only helpful when we use it, and so I think there's a lot we can do there. I also talked with Dr. Chen recently about the dual enrollment, and she explained some of that to me in the AP classes and how that's working and progressing. That's very exciting. I think that just gives our students a boost as they're graduating high school or whatever path. So I think we need to also look at not just a traditional path, but where are students going in every direction.
Okay, thank you. For our third question, we return to Ms. Cadillac.
Great. So the school committee room can often be a site of some contention and a place where divisions in the community are surfaced. So my question is a two-parter. How would you respond to community concerns when the public is deeply divided on an issue? And then also, how would you handle a situation when you are in the minority on a vote that you feel deeply about?
Yeah, we'll go right back to Ms. Kleck for the first answer.
The hard question. So I'm from the very beginning, I'll say that collaboration and what I've stood for all along and what I've had to do is listen. I want to listen to families. I don't believe that anybody has more or less right to speak their voices and be heard. And there has to be a way we can come together and move things forward if there are issues with a particular, based on a particular individual's beliefs, values. Those should all be heard. I do not believe that the entire group should be limited or policies changed based on one individual. If there are things that can be taken on an individual basis, like we have a lot of opt-out policies. Do we need more of those? Do we need to change some things in that direction? So that's it. And I think if I was the minority in one of the hard decisions, I would stand my ground. But if there's an issue where it came up where the overwhelming voice is that that there are things to be changed, things to be updated, things that, especially if they involved child safety, respect, things like that, just some core values that human rights. I think that's just something that would stand out. But overall, I think that I would stand my ground, and yeah, if there more voices on top of mine, I can handle that.
Okay, Mr. Brooks, same question.
Yep. So I think myself and Ms. Bond are in a unique position, having lived through this recently. Again, I think I would attack it, or really just look at it really much the same way that I did through the last year. Try to gain that parent feedback, solicit as much feedback as I can. I would also, again, follow a lot of the same steps I did through the last time we had a lot of parents that were unhappy with something that went on in the school, and just, again, try to make sure everyone has a seat at the table, everyone gets their chance to say what they need to say, and then, again, weigh that feedback very carefully and understand what parent voices are saying to me and what they really want to hear. And then, again, if you're in the minority, my personal views can't trump those of the constituency that's elected me, right? So I really have to value that feedback, internalize it, and make my decision based on that. And again, it's just, it's a very tough job, but it's one I'm well equipped to do. I've been making hard decisions all my life from the time I was 18 years old, thrust into some very sticky situations. And, I don't shy away from a challenge, never have, and I don't think I ever will. Thank you.
Mr. Reeves.
This is a great question. And yeah, I think we need to be very good listeners. This is, I feel like in these scenarios, where there's opinions that obviously we all have different viewpoints and different backgrounds and opinions that we bring to the table. But what matters most is that we listen to our parents. We're doing what is best for our students at the core of all the decisions that we're making. And for myself, I've no problem just standing up for what I think is right, and remembering that I'm representing other parents that share, I think, my point of view on certain things. But like Jeremy said, those ideas that are kind of my own will go to serve other people, when it comes to making that decision. And so being able to know where to draw that line and lay it down to serve, if the right phrasing would be kind of the greater good in that scenario, I would do that. But I've no problem standing up for what I think is right and what I think our parents are also fighting for. And that is something that I hope to continue to see in our school committee, that we are quick to respond through listening and acknowledging the concerns of our parents, and even thoughts that they have of how we can do things better. And that is something that I promise to do if elected into the school committee.
Thank you. And finally on this question, Ms. Bond.
Yeah, so as I said before, I think I'm crisis tested, because of the first time that I was in school committee, we had COVID, and there were a lot of unknown territory. There was a lot of discussion and listening to parents and listening to people in the community on what we thought was right and not right. Do we go, in class? Do we wear masks? How are we teaching people online? What's the best for us? And I think that as a committee and a town, we came up with the compromise I think that worked out best for everybody. Not perfect, but it worked out best. As far as what's going on currently, I think it's extremely important to let the people know who've come in to speak. It's not easy to do so, whether you're a parent or a student. It's not easy to speak up. It's nerve-wracking and nervous, and that's like we're all feeling right now. But one thing is we need to make sure that they feel their voices are being heard. And one thing that I would change, I think right now, back years ago, we used to answer questions immediately if we had an answer and a response. And then if we didn't have an immediate answer or response, we would get back to people at the next meeting. And I think it's important for us to respond as quickly as we can and come up with the, some sort of response that satisfies. It may not make every parent happy, because like we mentioned, we're trying to serve all of our students and find that happy medium and how we're going to support the teachers and the students in our community. And as a committee, we have to make that decision. And as Jeremy said, sometimes we don't always agree, and that's why there's 5 people on a committee. The majority rules, and that doesn't mean that you don't feel like you can speak up as a committee member and have your voice heard, and you can still vote the way you want to vote, whether you're in agreement with everyone else or not, and that's on the record. And if the majority something different than what you believe, then that's the way it's supposed to work.
Thank you. Now for the next question, it comes from Mr. Flaherty.
After voters rejected the proposed Burlington High School renovation in last November's special election, what do you see as the next steps for the high school building committee?
And we begin with Aaron Reeves.
Thank you. Yeah, next steps for the building project. I think getting back to the absolute basics of what we need to pull this project forward is essential, and re-examining what can actually be affordable or incremental renovations or rehab in the high school, and really, again, listening to this vote that our town brought to the table, asking that this is scrutinized a little bit greater. Yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, next, Hillary Kleck.
Yeah, so yes, the BHS vote, special election, I think there was a resounding nod from the community of what we're ready for. I think the next step, looking back on what happened, at least the parts that I was involved in and witnessed, I think we need to come together to better engage and mobilize the community. There was so much planning and prioritizing in different phases. Everyone, if you lived through it as well. So there has to be a way to bring everyone together, be collaborative, bring in some priorities. We need to be maybe a little more creative, resourceful in our plans. And again, I'll come back to long-term planning. We can't make these decisions individually. We have to look at it as a whole plan. So I think even in making the BHS plan, let's go ahead and look at what else we need in the other school buildings. So if we can just bring people together, and whether we have like-minded or, as we know, differing opinions and reasoning, let's bring that together and push forward, because our students need this, our town needs this.
Thank you. Same question, Catherine Bond.
So this, as everyone probably knows, has been near and dear to my heart for a very long time. And I guess what I'll say is that history matters. I think there are many people who aren't aware that we did submit the statement of interest for over 10 years to try and get state funding, and we couldn't. So we changed gears and went to Fox Hill. We submitted that, and we were accepted the first year. But we still had to figure out how to solve the high school problem. The town meeting members and Ways and Means in the town have all known for a very long time that we have to find something in some way to deal with the high school. And we as a school committee want to make sure that our teachers have the best buildings and tools to teach. So we went to the town meeting and Ways and Means, and they agreed to give us the $1.5 million to do a feasibility study. We conducted that study using the exact same proven process that is used by the state and what was used for Fox Hill. We had a combination of all kinds of community members, teachers, people from the who were like myself, who are on the school committee, and also community members that have nothing to do with the schools, parents as well. And we followed that process, and we actually came up with, I think, 12 solutions, including a total renovation solution. And the committee as a whole voted on different options out based on disrupting the students and putting in pods. Maybe that wasn't the best thing. We looked at cost, and we were comparing, a pure renovation to an ad reno or a brand new school built possibly on the football field. There were a lot of options that were discussed. We gave updates to town meeting, and we also did a lot of community outreach during that time. So again, I feel that I was hoping that we would get an outcome different than what we did. But as we all know, debt exclusions are very hard to get passed in a town. And so right now what we have to do is regroup. And the regrouping is we're trying to do the SOI and possibly form a subcommittee of the subcommittee to look at other phased options that the town can look at and hopefully support. Because right now we need to get something that the town can support, because we need a new high school.
And finally, Jeremy Brooks.
Okay. Vote was clear, and I heard it. Community told us it wasn't the right project. Maybe communication came too late for many people. Not enough voters felt they had a stake in the process. I respect that. Where I think we can do better. I said this right after the vote, as we need to step back, take 6 to 8 months, develop 2 to 3 clear courses of action, and an addition renovation option, a phased approach, and potentially a smaller footprint to the new build. Give voters a decision tree, not just a take it or leave it option. We also have to be honest that this is fundamentally a fiscal trust issue. That is why I would like to again reiterate and thank you, Hillary, for mentioning fiscal planning. Huge. 20-year capital plan helps us to put that into space and time in a way the town and the community can understand the need and the cost burden that we're signing up for. This will help us lay out infrastructure improvements we need for the next 20 years, and continually updating that document will provide the town and the school committee a path to communicate out to a lot of people these needs. The need hasn't disappeared. This is a 50-plus-year-old building, science labs that lack proper ventilation, but the next proposal has to be built on trust from the ground up, early communication, transparent cost modeling, and a price point this community can support. I'm committed to being part of that work.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Nikki Cadillac of Burlington Buzz.
Wonderful. All right. So some parents in the community say that they've been raising concerns for a really long time and haven't felt heard by the school committee or the school district. Whether or not you agree with those specific concerns, do you think that's a fair criticism, and what would you do differently?
And we'll go right back to Jeremy for that.
Okay. This job is a tough job. There is lots of vocal advocates for and against things. Again, going back to that listening component is just a really important part, making sure we welcome and hear all parents. Doesn't matter what your viewpoint is, what you come to talk to us about, you need to feel like you have a place at the table and you can walk up to that mic and just say what you need to say, and then we as the committee are gonna take that, act on it, and then respond in kind to you appropriately. Thank you.
All right, Catherine, same question.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's extremely important for us to listen to the parents and students we've had come into the school committee. And as I mentioned, it's not easy to do that. It's speaking in front of public can make people very nervous. And I commend any parent and student who have come in to talk to the committee. I do believe that it's extremely important for us to listen to them and weigh out all the options and get back to our parents as best as we can. One thing that I feel is important, and I know not everyone will agree, but because it's hard for people to come forward and talk to us, and some people aren't so good at wanting to send out emails, et cetera, we do send out something called the climate survey. And that climate survey is a way for people to respond who may not want to come in and talk in public. And we took upon our community is one of the only communities that actually does a climate survey. And so we're trying to get feedback from our students and from our parents in terms of how they're feeling in the schools. And that's one other way for us to get feedback. So when you talk about collecting data, which is Hillary's favorite word, we need to get the information from different resources. And by getting the information from different resources, then we're able to better respond and fulfill the teachers and the students and the parents' needs.
Thank you. Hillary, the same question.
Yeah, I mean, I know what it's like not to feel heard, not to get the feedback or the answer or the solution you're looking for. I don't know that I can say one way or the other, honestly, if the not knowing the specific situations of people who are bringing their concerns, and I don't know what they've heard back from the school committee or others involved. But I do hope that there is some response. As a school committee member, I think if I were elected, that would be one of the top priorities for not just school committee night, but every day I would make myself available to hear people's voices, their opinions, their perspectives, their concerns. I think there's always a reply that's needed. If someone's just not getting the answer that they want, then that's maybe a different story. But I would, be open to hearing everyone's thoughts.
Thank you. And finally, on this question, Aaron.
Thank you. And I think it's very important to listen to our parents and making sure that every single one of them feels that their concerns are heard. and responded to appropriately. I think even with people that we disagree with, we need to make sure that we show them respect and acknowledge that they've asked a question or shared a concern, and affirm that we're going to work together to bring their concern to closure. And I'm glad that the climate survey was brought up, because as that information was shared a few weeks ago, it was very evident that many parents in our community didn't participate in that. And one of the thoughts that I've had kind of rolling around my head is how do we get more parents engaged with a survey like that so that we can improve our schools? And I think this is another reason why I am running for this position as someone kind of on the outside and a newcomer to this entire thing. I don't have all of these years of experience that these guys do and kind of repertoire with the school system, but I do have a fresh perspective, something that I'm willing to bring and look at things maybe a little bit differently to help parents from all over our community feel heard and give thoughtful response to their concerns.
Okay, thank you. We have time for one more question in this section of the program, and for that we'll go to Chris Flaherty of BNEWS.
All right. What is one thing you believe the current school committee does well, and one thing you think they could improve on?
And we'll start with Catherine Bond.
Just the luck I have, right? No, so as far as what the school committee does well, I think that I believe that we work well with the administration. I am really happy that we have people who come in and are able to feel comfortable giving presentations on the various programs that we have going on, including the different surveys that some people may or may not like, updates on how we handle our students who come in where English is a second language. So I believe we put in a lot of different programs that have helped those types of students, because again, we have to include everybody. So we've done a good job, I think, on updating our curriculum. We certainly have a lot of work to do on updating our curriculum. In terms of what we could improve on, I think I've been hearing a lot about communication, and I would think that we can find a way to better communicate. Some of the ways that we have been communicating and how we did improve is by updating the communication with the buses, with the app, so that our parents can keep track of where their students are. We've also found a Parent Square, which is a central location for all parents to be able to get information about what's going on in the schools. But there's always room for improvement. So the big thing I've been hearing a lot on is communication. And if people are feeling that they aren't being heard, like I said, I feel like we should probably try and respond a little more quickly in our current school committee meetings. When we have a response or an answer, we should be responding right away. And that if we don't have an answer, that we get back to them the very next school committee meeting. So that's what I would say that we need to work on, is getting people to feel that we're responding maybe in a more effective manner.
Thank you. Aaron Reeves.
Thank you. Could you repeat the question? I just kind of blanked. That was really funny.
What is one thing you believe the current school committee does well?
Oh, right. Yes.
And one thing you think they could improve on?
Oh, that's so good. This is as a musician, this is something actually I do with my band every time we play. We talk about something that went well. We talk about a place that we can improve. So I love this. I really think Burlington schools do a great job at making sure every student feels welcome. That's clearly a value that our school system prioritizes, and you can see that in the way the students respond and communicate about what's going on in the school system, and by the conversations that I've had with other committee members and and other parents in the community. A place that I feel like the committee could grow in is in communication and transparency with parents about what is being brought to the table in all parts of the curriculum, and that they have enough time to make suggestions or ask questions, and making it very accessible and easy to understand. So yes, communication is the area that I would say needs the most focus right now.
Thank you. Jeremy Brooks, same two questions.
So Great question. Thank you for teeing that up for me, Chris, because now I get to talk about my most favorite thing in the world, technology, right? I think one thing to do well is not speak highly enough about Shireen and her team. They've instituted the computer science pathways. They just brought on the business pathways. They're making certification, testing for those certifications part of the program. So those students, like I talked about in my first campaign and over the last 3 years we've been advocating for, is that pathway to real employment. If a student doesn't want to go to college, they don't want to go to the military, they don't want to pursue a trade, they really have a path to somewhere successful. So, I'd love to see the committee continue to support that and really expand the program, do some outreach and, figure out where there's some public-private partnership. And again, really maybe broadening that intern portfolio with lots of organizations in the area, because I don't think there's any shortage of technology here that would be willing and happy to have some students work with them. Things touched on it. Right, it is a huge thing, and I've been advocating for it pretty strongly to communication as really as real time as possible. So personal communications as a school committee member, I've pretty much set a rule that 24 and no more than 48 hours. If you don't feel comfortable emailing me, come up and walk up, tug on my shoulder, slide me a note after class. I don't know. I'll take any feedback I can. And I think that's pretty much it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And a question, Hillary Kleck.
Yeah, so I think the school committee has been working with leadership, with of learning and teaching to curriculum updated and in the right direction. That goes back to hiring Dr. Chen and this over other things that may need to come up now. So I really commend the school committee in they've done to push the curriculum and to do that in a way that is informed with research, with the accountability, and moving. And I look to the school committee to keep on providing that. We're at a point now to where there is a lot of data. So I expect next year for the CKLA to see a lot more collaboration and communication with parents in what with their student, where this is being taught, where they're at. There's a better way, I think, to that communication, to echo everyone else up here. So there's a lot to be done, but I commend them in curriculum, and then for what can the school committee do better. There are a lot of decisions being made that could use more questions, more data, more time to come up with a solution that has been thought out, and to push that forward. With that comes all the communication that supports that.
Okay, thank you. Now we move on to the next phase, where each of you gets to ask your fellow candidates one question. And each one will have 90 seconds to answer. We'll begin with a question from Mr. Brooks.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about long-term and communication today during this forum. It's great to learn a lot of problems and trying to fix them. I think my question to the how will you improve communication? What roles would be helpful to implement to affect that communication and help parse that data out? And how would you fit that under the ceiling of the current budget constraints we have?
And we will begin with Mr. Reeves.
Great. It's a packed question there. Yeah. Long-term planning, I think, requires a lot of conversation and working together with every kind of relationship that all of us can bring to the table. And can you repeat your second part of that question for me?
Yeah,
because it was kind of packed. Yeah.
What positions would you implement, and then how would you fit it onto the budget and fiscal constraints?
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot going on in our budget, and I had the privilege of watching the last kind of overview of what's going on for the next year. I think there are places that we need to look with and hey, can we cut this here to make room for better communication there? I think utilizing, looking maybe at the staff of our schools and even people on our committee that can put together stronger avenues of communication, either through websites or coordinating with BCAT on putting out what is going on with curriculums and upcoming events like that. Is a great way to start. And frankly, like I was saying at the beginning, just kind of sitting down and talking it through with others to figure that out together. Because that's something I'm committed to do at this stage of the game, because I'm kind of a new but I'm very willing to work hard and pull these things together. So it was a good question, man.
Thank you. Ms. Bond, the same question.
So I wanted to, so there are two parts to your question. One was
Correct.
the budgeting, and could you just repeat it? I just wanna make sure I don't miss anything.
How would you improve communication long-term planning? What roles would you implement, or how would you do that, and how would you fit it under the budget constraints?
So as far as the long-term planning, I know you were very keen on a 20-year plan, and I've heard it, and I kind of feel like there's more, the 10-year plan works, 20 years out is great, but I think 10 years is more realistic. We have been sitting together as a committee and listening to Bob Cuna and trying to plan ahead in terms of what we're budgeting for the repairs that need to be done to buildings, and I think that's a great thing. Making sure that we're communicating that information to all the appropriate people within town. We have to go to Ways and Means, we have to go to town meeting, we have to make sure that we're following the proper process. And I think in general we have been following the proper process. We need to work with Nicole very closely and see what we have going on in our budget and find where, if there are places, it's very difficult to cut. We've been kind of doing an even keel thing for many, many years. I do understand and very sensitive that the school does take up the largest portion of the budget for the town, but schools are important. They bring people to our community. People want to move here. The first thing they look at, or move anywhere, is schools. And we need to make sure that we're improving our schools and that we're doing it fiscally, in a fiscally responsible way. As far as communication, that is tough. I know, like within the town, we have, I don't know if that's the right title, but a new person who will help out with that communication, which I think will maybe pull that person if we're allowed to. And then in terms with the school committee, though, we have a lot of different positions. People who are liaisons, as I mentioned, like for me, for CPAC. Perhaps maybe we get a liaison for communication on the school committee so that we're finding a way to better communicate with people in the community.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Kleck.
Yes. What your questions were one more time, just in the packed budget. I'm just going to be like everybody else. Budget, communication.
So long-term planning, communication. How would you implement it? What position would you advocate for, and then how would you fit it under the budget constraints?
Right. Yeah, that was a little no, packed question. I just want to make sure I touch on yeah, so I mean, I think before anything, I would a culture and a process and benefits of our offerings across the board. In every line, in every row, comparing to state and federal requirements and the needs and desires, which is where that communication and communication is huge, as we will say, no reason to say that again. But I've worked as in data consultants for digital tools for parenting, which I've also worked really hard with the Perkins CPAC. So I would see, I know we have a role, and maybe we take use of that to help with the budget for parent engagement, family engagement, community engagement, creating a strategy. So I think without a strategy, we're just kind of picking here and there. So being able to follow a process, have standards would be really important and really helpful for everyone. We have Parent Square, we have a website, even maybe look more to social, because that obviously where a lot of people are right now. So I think being able to utilize what we already have and the roles that we already have could help keep that in the budget, but just really looking at what are our standards and processes and our strategy, and building that into what do we expect, what do parents want, and formalizing that.
Thank you. Our next question to the fellow candidates is from Ms. Bond.
So it's a loaded question, I think. Our obligations to every student, what specific policies would you implement to protect teachers who are following DESI's protocols or procedures for supporting LGBTQ or backlash from parents?
And we'll begin with Mr. Brooks.
So yeah, I actually fielded this question yesterday, so it's very timely. Over the last 3 years, the committee has worked really hard. We've revamped the entire policy packet, so every policy from A to Z. And I know I'm gonna get this wrong because I'm doing it from memory, but we recently updated policy AC, JICFB, and I wanna say it's JMM. Please don't hold me to that, but those are 3 policies that deal with bullying, discrimination, and education equity. Again, if there's gaps in those policy, we have a policy subcommittee with Ms. Monaco and Mr. Wojcik. We should certainly bring those concerns to them. They can bring us a draft and we can adjudicate that there. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Kleck.
I'm sorry, I missed the very first part of your question.
Absolutely.
Yes, sorry.
I would probably need it repeated too. Considering our obligations to every student, what specific policies would you implement to protect teachers who are following DESI's protocols or procedures for supporting LGBTQ+ students when they face complaints or backlash from parents?
Yeah, so I feel like if DESI's policies are reflecting that we support that. If there, I would honestly have to look up all of the policies that Jeremy, Mr. Brooks just stated. And maybe that's where we come into a review of anything that has come up recently. But I certainly respect DESI's and DESI's policies, and should that be reflected at Burlington schools.
And finally, Mr. Reeves.
I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. They all got it. I want it. I just want to make sure I answer correctly.
Of course,
Thank you.
all do. Yeah. Considering our obligations to every student,
Great.
what specific policies would you implement to protect teachers who are following DESI's protocols or procedures for supporting the LGBTQ+ students when they face complaints or backlash from parents?
All right. Yeah. So I'm definitely not as familiar with policies and can list them off like our friend Jeremy here. But I think it is very important that every student is respected and heard and taken care of, and bullying is not a part of any classroom. So I would support making sure that every single classroom has a teacher that respects each and every student without showing favoritism. As far as policy goes, like I said, I'm not as familiar, and so I would have to read up on that as far to implement. But I would do what the state requires. But I would push for fairness and not singling out just a single group of people, and making sure that every student gets the same treatment, not just a single group. And that's what I would stand for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next question comes from Ms. Kleck.
feel like I should have made this more of a loaded question, but what do you hope to be your biggest accomplishment in your first year of the next term if elected?
And we'll begin with Ms. Bond.
So the biglish accomplishment, again, is pushing forward, continue to focus on security in our building for our students and teachers, and feel that their students are secure. So I think we need to continue to look at, we have some of the state-of-the-art security systems in our schools, but we need to continue to make sure that we keep those state-of-the-art. So I want to continue focusing on that. As I mentioned earlier, I would like to try and have Dr. Chen, along with our teachers, try and come up with a program to support our students on the science side of things, whether that's technology or coming up with a program in the elementary school. I don't think we really have a block in the elementary school for science, so I think it would help. Maybe, again, we're incorporating, some of you may not know this, but there is science that's incorporated into the new reading program, which I think is great. But we need to find a way that they get more time on science so the kids are better prepared when they get into the middle school. And then my other concern is, again, trying to work with the community, continuing to find a solution for the high school. I keep inviting people to please come to the current meetings and expressing your ideas and your concerns. We heard loud and clear from people about what they liked or didn't like, or that we did this all too soon, and I would like more people to be involved with what we're doing right now. I'd like to continue to push that forward and listen to everybody. I think we need to, as Jeremy mentioned, look at other ways to find a solution, but other than just submitting to the state to try and get funding. But if we do get funding, and we're lucky enough to get funding, then we'll go through that same process that we did with Fox Hill. And I also want to focus on finding some way to improve, get into the capital budget again, because we really don't know what's going to happen with the high school. Some way to improve the science labs. They're terrible, in my opinion. They're not really...
Begin to wrap up.
Yep, they're not really... I don't think they're workable for the teachers because they can't set things up the way they need to. The ventilation is not what it should be. So there's things that we definitely need to focus on, and that's what I'm hoping to accomplish in the next 3 years.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you very much. That was a great question. Thank you for not making it loaded, though I don't know if yours were that loaded, but they were great questions. I would focus on looking at our spending. I think this is one of our most pressing issues. There's a 4% increase this year over last year in the fiscal plan, and especially with the high school project, which during that question I felt like I flubbed it a little bit, but to just readdress that and kind of hunker down on something that Jeremy said. The 20-year capital plan is essential to looking at and approaching that issue, and it's a clear concern of our taxpayers in our town, and so to give them ample opportunity to be involved in communicating, kind of pulling in that communication piece again. In that first year, I would strive to engage with the parents, asking them, what are the ways that you communicate? Where are you listening to your news sources? How can we do a better job really listening to the parents and the people of our town when it comes to making these decisions about the high school and helping, making sure if we are spending $25,000 a student, that our scores reflect that kind of expenditure. And so making sure our academics are at the forefront of every decision that we're making as a school committee.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Brooks.
Thanks for the question, Hillary. So I'm going to reframe the question a little bit just to take a little break because I got 90 seconds and I'm going to do that. So number one, there's no individual on the committee. It's a team effort always. If we don't work together, we can't move things. I don't think I would take individual share of any accomplishment. I think it's really the committee, the administration, and all those that support us. The big wins, I'm going to be a little more ambitious. I think we shouldn't just focus on one. I think we should focus on many. Being, as Catherine mentioned, let's reframe, let's come together, get a plan. Let's that are fiscally responsible, fit within the debt ceiling it has. I think we need to push harder on STEM and science. And then again, to the school safety, I'd like to continue my work there. In my first term, I was able to help push through 2 warrant articles, one for a school safety initiative for mapping and the other for a communication incident response gap. And I'd really like to continue that work. And I think we can really improve the safety and incident response for the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our final question, we go to Mr. Reeves.
Thank you. All right. What standards or metrics do you believe the school committee should use to evaluate the superintendent, since this is one of the roles of the school committee, and how should those standards influence decisions like contract renewals or raises?
And we'll begin with Ms. Kleck.
Important question. So I think there are, I'm going to go straight back to what I said about what we need to standardize. If there's a rubric created for for gauging effectiveness, for gauging all of these pieces that we came to in order to what we expect from a superintendent. So I mean, as far as metrics, I think we'd first have to get all the data and figure out exactly what those are. But I think the first thing that comes to mind and has come up in a lot of my conversations are the superintendent's goals that are stated. So if these are the superintendent's goals and these kind of guide what's happening, what is the effectiveness, and how is that, how do we see that trending? How do we see those coming together for his goals, or his or her goals in the future?
Okay. Let's see. Mr. Brooks next.
Okay. The DESI framework does have a rubric. Both evaluations focus on the district priorities and then the superintendent goals. So from DESI, there is a formatted script on the evaluation of the superintendent. And if it's followed, I believe a honest assessment is produced from that. Sorry, the second part of your question again was the superintendent evaluation. And
Yeah. How should those standards influence decisions like contract renewals or raises?
Yeah, so standards influencing that. Again, the body of work speaks for itself. Did they meet metrics? Did they not? That's again why I've pushed for, as we had the MCAS debate, should we rely on that solely? And again, I pushed for, while the MCAS metric is good, a single data point is never great, and we need to pull in more data sources to get a more holistic picture of the, just state of health of our district. And I think that would help clarify for all members of the committee really where the performance stands and how to rate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Pete, what Jeremy said, yes, there is, we follow. Goals are shared with the committee, and we get updates on Dr. Conti's. And we all individually fill out that rubric and do the current curricular year, and then they look at all of it. For me, I would like to say that I think we have a great superintendent. He has been asked by his peers to be the national representative for the state of Massachusetts. He's been recognized by his peers as one of the best in the state. He's elected the president of the Association for School Superintendents. He's met national recognition for tech savvy. He's received, the second year that he was in his position of superintendent, he was awarded Superintendent of the Year his second year. And I think that those things are all important, that when your peers recognize you for being one of the best superintendents in the state, that's something we need to give him credit for. And there are many communities that are envious that we have someone like Dr. Conti. As far as my own personal evaluation of him, some of the additional research that I do is that we get all kinds of information throughout the year from Dr. Chen. And before the last evaluation, I had asked her to put together all the positive things that occurred in every school. And I included some of those in my evaluation of Dr. Conti last year. There were 15 pages of positive things in schools last year. Some of them were national recognition, some of them were state recognition, students participating in and winning awards for that. That all needs to be given credit to Dr. Connie and all the people who are reporting into him, our school teachers included. So again, I put together in my review, there were I think 5 positive things that happened in each school, because I wanted to make sure people knew that I was my evaluation.
Thank you.
All right, this brings us to the last part of the program, closing statements. Each of you has 2 minutes, and we'll use the orders we began with. So closing statement.
Okay. I'm going to read it because I don't want to stumble. I tried to look at the camera on the other way. But anyway, as a school committee member, we help bridge the gap between families and administration when something needs attention, while also overseeing the budget, setting policy, and evaluating the superintendent. Not every parent feels comfortable at a public meeting or reaching out, but that's the way, one of our important things is that we remain approachable and responsive. I will continue to ensure we support and educate all students. That means supporting our teachers with the tools, training, and classroom environments they need to succeed. It also means continuing to foster a culture of respect, inclusion, and kindness in our schools. CDC reporting still shows serious mental health concerns among adolescents in schools. Schools remain a central delivery point for counseling, prevention, and referrals. We need to continue to evaluate the situation, ensure students who are at risk get the support needed. We need to make sure our teachers have the right support and training should an at-risk student need help. As mentioned in my opening statement, as a parent of the Burlington Public Schools graduate, with all the years going through the system and community involvement, I understand firsthand what our schools mean to families. My community involvement includes serving on many boards, including a BHSA, which is the Burlington Hockey and Skating Association, the Burlington Swim and Tennis Club. I was treasurer of the Winchester Figure Skating Club. They skate at the Burlington Ice Palace. And other volunteering includes Pop Warner Cheer Coach and the Burlington Education Foundation. Over the past 6 years, I've built strong relationships across our community and gained valuable leadership experience. During my recent term, we hired the new assistant superintendent, improved school safety with new protective technology, added safety vestibules at the school entrances, designed and planned for a new Fox Hill School, which I vice-chaired, implemented a district-wide reading program, strengthened our math instructions, negotiated a bus contract with accountability measures for late buses, and introduced a bus tracking app to better support our families' improved daily communication, and I was a part of that committee. I'm proud to serve as a CPAC liaison. I would like to thank town meeting for all their support, especially the financial support. I look forward to continuing the great relationship between the school committee, select board, town administrator, the financial teams, and all town employees. I believe my experience, leadership, and commitment make me the right choice for one of 2 seats. I'm approachable, I listen, and I deliver results. I respectfully ask for one of your 2 votes on April 11th or before, and thank you again to BCAT and all of you who participated.
Thank you very much. And our next one is Jeremy Brooks.
Thank you. Serving the last 3 years on the committee has been an honor. One, I'd humbly like to ask for your trust again to give me another term to help with the school committee. Also, 2, I believe we need to continue the work that has been started over the last 3 years of continuing the curriculum revamp, working towards the high school renovation plan, and again, working towards STEM innovation pathways, as well as working towards bringing our classrooms up to standard for the high school. Again, it's been an honor to serve the committee, and it's been an honor to serve the town. I'm humbly going to ask for your vote on April 11th or before. Thank you for your time. And thank you for BCAT, Mr. Foulds, Chris, Nikki, and all the staff here.
Next up is Aaron Reeves. Final comments.
Well, thank you to the moderator, Mr. Alan Foulds, and my fellow candidates, everyone watching at home, and BCAT as well. This has been a great time of answering questions and debate, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit about myself and why I'm running. Burlington has incredible schools and an incredible community that cares deeply about them. Strong schools require trust, transparency, and leadership that is accountable to each decision that it makes. I'm running because I believe parents deserve clear communication, taxpayers deserve careful stewardship, and students deserve our full focus on academic excellence. If elected, I'll work hard to bring people together and keep our schools moving forward. I would be honored to earn your vote.
Thank you very much. And finally, Clark.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you to listeners. I believe that the schools are the center of our community, and our schools, above and beyond educating our students, they shape our entire community building together. As a parent raising my family in Burlington, I've experienced firsthand how important our schools are, not just for academic success, but for supporting the whole child and helping every student grow. Professionally, I bring a background in engineering, nonprofit work, and a data consultant, where I focus on solving those complex problems and making thoughtful, informed decisions. I approach this role the same way, asking the right questions, the hard questions, looking at the full picture, and focusing on making the greatest impact for our students and our community. My goal is to continue building on the strong foundation we already have while working toward even greater excellence in every classroom and for every student, strengthening communication and trust between families and schools, and ensuring we are planning responsibly for the future, both fiscally, and within the curriculum. That means making fiscally sound decisions, thinking long-term, and working collaboratively with educators, families, and the broader community to ensure our schools continue to serve Burlington for generations to come. We know students learn best when they feel safe, when they feel like they belong. I believe in listening, in partnership and collaboration, and in doing the work to move things forward in a thoughtful and meaningfully way, responsibly. I believe we can be better, and with your support, I'm ready to help us get there. April 11th. Thank you.
Well, we have, in closing, I thank four of the candidates, Catherine Bond, Jeremy Brooks, Aaron Reeves, and Hillary, for sharing of Burlington, but also offering your to the town. Black of Burlington Buzz and Chris Flaherty of BNEWS for your great questions. And finally, thanks to Jen Dodge and all of the staff and volunteers here at BCAT. You've made all of this happen. Remember, Election Day is Saturday, April 11th. The polls at the high school are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Early voting starts March 30th and runs through April 8th at the town hall during business hours. This is your chance to have a direct say in how your town is governed. Remember, this is the level where you get the most services. Your schools and your library, fire and police, DPW, zoning, and so forth. Make sure you take advantage of that vote. Don't pass it up. Get out there and vote. And thanks, everyone, for watching.